Jumble Lane. Today I'm going to go through with you how I make a wall, a simple small wall which is going to surround my turntable yard. At the back of my station I've got the turntable yard, and in between the yard and the station I've got what is now a tarmac area. As you can see, it's all marked out, and it's got the car parking spaces and disabled spaces, and those were a stencil I made and basically just dabbed the paint with a sponge through the stencil. At the back it's actually got space for taxis only. As you can see, the turntable area and the yard where the diesel filling point is, there is a raised platform, and what I'm going to do is surround this raised platform with a wall, and on top of the wall there'll be a palisade fencing, but that's next in line. The wood I'm going to use for the wall is basically some scrap wood that I've got left from when I was laying my track. In some parts of my track, in the stations where the track is straight, I haven't got the normal distance between the tracks where there's two tracks, and basically I've got these pieces of MDF which I'll cut out. It's 6mm MDF, and as you can see, written on there is 16mm narrow gap, and that's basically between the sleepers in the two sets of track. So they're close together, but because it's a straight bit of track, there's plenty of room between the trains, the carriages and everything else, so there's no problems there. So I've got several pieces of these wood which is now scrap, so I thought cover them with brick paper, and then I've got myself a wall of 16mm high, where I've got some 10mm, the platform area around the turntable and the diesel filling yard is 10mm thick, so it will be sticking up just proud by 6mm approximately, plus the thickness of the foam that I've made the tarmac out of. So we're talking about 8mm maximum. So let's show you how I did it. Well, here we are with the pieces of wood, and I've got two pieces of wood which I want to make long enough, and one is 300mm long and the other one is 145, because the piece I want is 445mm long. Now I'm just going to glue these together with a bit of Rocket Max glue and a touch of water on the other one, and hold that together nice and tight for about 20 seconds. This is just the same as using something called Mitomate, which is used in the kitchen trade for the cornices. MDF is the same material as this. Rocket Max is basically a cyano glue, so which is similar to super glue, and the glue used in Mitomate is basically the same, and what comes in the spray can, the activator, is just basically water. I've already made up one of these and covered it in paper, and basically it's not load bearing, so it doesn't have to be very strong, but as long as it holds together and doesn't fall apart, then all's well. and that's solid. What I will do is just give the joint a rub, because that will just make the joint more flush so you don't see it come through the paper. And there's our piece of wood, just like one piece of wood. Now then, put that to side, because our next job is to some paper. Now this is a brick paper I've been using. You can use any brick paper, any style, and basically this ruler is 30mm wide, and it's basically just the right size to wrap around the wooden wall, giving enough height and to go all around the top and down far enough around the other side. Do 3 pieces for now. Basically, cut the ends straight, what I've got in here, this little dish, is some tacky glue, which is basically PVA. It's a thick PVA. It's from Hobbycraft. It comes in a little bottle, but you can use anything, Mod Podge, anything like that, and it just gives, you don't want it too wet and too runny, because then it soaks into the paper, and then the paper starts to rip up and bubble, just like wallpaper does when it's too wet on the wall. This way, with this warm weather we're having, this glue, as you spread it thinly with a small paintbrush, it sticks nicely, and I'll just put some over the end just so it starts to go off. So choose the bottom, make it overlap the end by about 15mm, and the edge towards me is the bottom. Just rub it down the edges, it gives a nice crease mark, and then take the corner, some glue on the back, just a thin amount, nothing too thick so it's too runny, and then fold that end round. And then the top. Again, I'm not putting a lot on, it's quite thick, and with this weather, like I said, it tends to get quite sticky and dry very quickly. So I don't put too much in the dish at once, and then fold it over so it goes nice and straight on the edge. Turn it around. And do the same along the back of the wall. If the wall was like a freestanding wall, then obviously you're going to have to cover the entire height of the wall, where in this case it's only got to come halfway down at least, because it's going against that raised section. Right, so there's our first piece of wall. And now what we've got to do, we've got to continue along and do the other half. Now this is where it gets, where you have to be a bit careful, because what you've got to do, if it's quite visible, you've got to make sure that you line it up, not showing a joint in the wood, the best possible way. And you will notice you've got the cement lines, they really need to join up and be in line with each other as best as possible, so it gives you the best effect. Because if you do some filming and you do it sort of close up and you try your best in getting a nice finish on your filming, there'll always be somebody who says that joint in that wall isn't very good. So just try and make it the best you can. Just get some glue on there so it starts to go off a bit. And then fold that around. Now, I'm not really worried about the top not being very neat, or if you see the joints, because this top of the wall is going to have coping stones on it, and that will be made out of coffee stirrers. If anyone's seen Tony Northeastern with his bridges and his parapets and his scratch building, you'll see that he's got coffee stirrers, and he's just scored some lines every so far along, and basically those lines represent the joins in the coffee stirrers, and then he's weathered them so the lines take upon a bit more of the weathering powders or glue, paints he's been using, and it makes it look as though it's a proper joint in the slabs that's used for the coping stones. And he's had a good effect. We all pinch ideas off each other, so it deserves a mention. Now there is one thing with this actual piece that I'm doing now. The base where the wall goes is actually curved, and it curves away. So this piece I won't be fitting until I've decided what I want to do, and it might mean that I'll have to score several lines down there and coax the MDF into bending a small amount. It might mean that I'll have to sort of fix it with some pins in the front and try and disguise the pins, but we'll find out. As you can see, this is where we're going to be sticking the wall along this edge. And what we'll do is we'll just have a go at fixing this end piece over here. I'm not sure what the best glue we're going to use. I haven't really worked that out, but I'll start by sticking this piece on and see how we get on with that. If we use this Rocket Max glue, we'll have a go with that first. Just put some along the MDF and see how it fixes to the MDF. That's along there. And that's fixed. Right, the next one now is this piece at the end. And again, because that's nice and solid, this glue seems to be working pretty good. So again, put it into position and just hold it in there for a while. Now in the meantime, I've looked at the coffee stirrers, and they are the exact thickness of that, so we've got no overhang. What I have got is some lollipop sticks, so I should be looking at those and see if they're not going to be too wide. Those are a lot wider than that, but we'll see. There we have it. You can see that the end of that piece, it does actually need to turn the corner. So what I might do is cut it and put a straight corner on it, sort of a 30-degree corner, just to see if I can do that, and then fill the inside with a bit of ballast just to fill the gap in the hole up. And that's just the wall for now. As you can see, I have for now made a small cut in the wood, and it does fit with a bit of pressure behind it. So what I'm going to do is glue it, but as I glue it, I'm going to hold it close to, and see if it fixes. Take out some bits in the edge to stop it from pushing it away. Line that edge up. Yep, and there we have it. So we've got the wall which goes all around where we want it to go around, and that's firmly in place. Well, as you can see, a lollipop stick is just about wide enough. A bit more prototypical. So what I'll do now is I'll cut off all the ends to make square edges, measure up, and then I'll be fitting those, weathering them and fitting those. Well, I've painted some lollipop sticks in a sort of grey, thin, watery paint, acrylic paint, and that's after marking the lollipop sticks with some lines. I used a pencil for that. I don't know if you'll be able to see if I zoom in. Yeah, just about. So they look alright. I wasn't going to score each one. It would take me ages to do that, and I'm getting a bit impatient with this. As you can see, my little diagram there, the length of the sides. So I use so many matchsticks. Sorry, lollipop sticks. Well, like I said, patience has got the better of me, and quite honestly, I thought I'll try and glue this corner, get the lollipop sticks to stick down, and I tried it in there, and they went on okay. I got carried away. So, in true Blue Peter style, you've got the capping on the wall going all the way along. All the way to the end. Just in case anybody's interested how I got the the markings on the tarmac, the stencils, the car parking area. This is just a test piece on some scrap wood. Basically I've got a die cutting machine, and basically that's the sheet that I've been testing the cutting out. And that's the stencil I've used. Cutting different pieces of paper to see which ones work better, thicker card or thin card, and that's what I used in the car park outside the station. And then this one is what I used for the parking bays, and basically I got a kitchen sponge and cut it up. That's just a small part of it, and I just dabbed it in some acrylic and just dabbed it over there. This was held down. I did try, but when I did it on there, I used a spray mount glue, but then I didn't want the spray mount stickiness all over the material that the tarmac's made out of. As you can see, there's bits of it all over there. The tarmac itself was made out of this foam. This is a sticky back foam. It comes in an A4 sheet size, and it's from Hobbycraft. It's £1 a sheet, and I used 5 sheets, and this is what I've got left out of the 5 sheets. You can get various colours. I think you can get white and black in the self-adhesive one, and then you've got other colours which is just a foam, and that would be good as a tarmac area for like a yard where you've got like a TMD. It acts like concrete, but that's not self-adhesive, and they don't do the self-adhesive, and that's 50p a sheet from Hobbycraft. So I've got a few sheets of that, but I was thinking of doing my turntable yard in that, but I managed to get a decent enough finish on the plastic card, and I didn't rip it up and try to do it all over again. But that's how I made the car park area, just dabbing the acrylic through the stencil and just lifting it up out of the way, and it leaves it painted nicely. Don't overdo it, don't get it perfect so it's like a really perfect paint finish, because you go to car parks and they're half worn away, so it just worked nicely.